Hi, I'm Dan Klaidman from Newsweek magazine, and I'm here in Denver at the Democratic National Convention, where we're talking to a number of representatives from the Barack Obama campaign. I'm here today with Eric Holder, who led the vice presidential search process, former Deputy Attorney General in the Clinton administration. Eric, tell me first, how early on did Senator Obama express strong interest in Joe Biden?
Well, I'd say almost from the beginning. We looked at a number of candidates, and I think Barack had a number of people who he thought were fully capable of being vice president, and certainly among those was, and at a very early stage, was Joe Biden.
So would you say he was the leading contender from almost the start?
I would say he was among the leading contenders from the start. There was a relatively small group of people who I think I would have considered favorites from the beginning, and I think he would have been in that group.
Some would say that picking a vice presidential candidate is the first real executive decision that a presidential candidate has to make, and it's a bit of a window into how he or she might govern. What did you learn about Barack Obama in this process?
I think we saw that he's got great organizational skills. He's got an ability to really focus on something. Even though he was doing tons and tons of other campaign-related things, he gave this a huge amount of attention, was very thorough in his analysis of the material that we shared with him. And I think ultimately the ultimate test is that he came up with a great pick.
How did you manage to keep a lid on the process? I mean, there really weren't very many leaks until sort of the very end, and even that was sort of speculative as opposed to us really knowing who it was.
Well, we really restricted the number of people who were involved in the process, and then we compartmentalized it so that people only had to know what they needed to know. And then I think there was more generally a feeling on the part of the people who were involved that they wanted to adhere to this in a way that Barack said he wanted us to do, and that was to respect the people who decided to participate in the process and not unnecessarily embarrass them, let people know that they were not picked. That's not something that is necessarily the best thing in the world, to know that we were not selected. And so out of respect to them, I think we all decided that it would be good to just try to be as quiet about this as we could.
It seems like the process ran pretty smoothly. The one criticism that there has been, and we've heard some of this at the convention here in Denver, is that Hillary Rodham Clinton was not vetted. What's your response to that?
Well, I would say that she was certainly considered as part of the process. She was certainly a part of the initial workups that were done on a pretty substantial number of candidates, about 20 or so. And after that, her name was certainly came up during the conversations that we had among the vetters and with the top political people, and then with Barack himself. So I would say that she was a part of the process. She was considered as part of the selection process.
And two more questions quickly. Give me a sense of how rigorous the process was. How invasive was the vetting? What was that process like?
Invasive is a really good word to use. There's a really extensive questionnaire. Each of the candidates filled out about 100, 110 questions or so. They turn in tax returns, medical records. Spouses are interviewed. Kids are interviewed, assuming that they're above 6, 7, 8 years of age.
Really, I mean, kids interviewed who are, say, teenagers, not adult age.
Yeah. Teenagers would have been interviewed, but their parents might be present, not taken off to a room by themselves, but certainly, yeah. And then, looking at all their political histories, asking them to gather up speeches, articles that they had written. I would think a difficult thing to do, and certainly invasive, but I mean, to their credit, all of these folks really adhered to the things we asked them to do and gave us really complete information.
So you've done your big job, but what do you do now? What's your role in this campaign going forward?
To do all that I can to ensure Barack's election. I'm one of the national co-chairs, so I'll be back doing surrogate work, probably doing a bit of media, and trying to just energize groups and try to make people understand that I think this is the most consequential election we've had since 1932, and that I think we're at a real crossroads. And Barack, I think, can take this country where it needs to go in the 21st century.